Hey y'all, welcome to Secure Your Finances, the show that helps business owners reduce their biggest expense, taxes, legally, ethically, and compliantly. I'm your host, Maddie Montague, and today I'm asking the question, are you running a business or a hobby? So, from collecting stamps, woodworking, to crafting and quilting, people have all kinds of hobbies. Usually, people pursue hobbies for sport or recreation and don't expect any type of income to result from it. But sometimes hobbies do earn income, and this is where the IRS and their rules come in. People should know that for hobbies that do earn income, they must report this income on their tax return. Additionally, they should also be mindful that their hobby might actually be classified as a business. So, we're going to unpack that in today's episode. I know it sounds crazy, and determining whether you should classify something as a hobby or a business, it can definitely be confusing, but that's where I'm here to help because no single consideration is the deciding factor of this. But you got to review them all to determine whether you actually have a business or a hobby. So, with that being said, I put together a few things to note when evaluating whether you have a business or a hobby, and I'm going to share them with you. So, I have about 9 things I'm going to go through, right? Number one is whether the taxpayer carries out the activity in a business-like manner and maintains complete and accurate books and records. So what that means is if for this entire 9 things to consider, I'm going to use quilting as a crocheting, quilting, that type of activity as an example, right? So if you find yourself keeping the receipts from Michael's for all your supplies, coming up with a price list for your blankets, for your dollies or whatever they call them nowadays. My mom used to call them dollies, the little things that go on the table. Yeah. So if you find yourself, having receipts, coming up with a price list, trying to figure out your profit, that's not a hobby anymore. That's a business. All right. So number two, whether the time and effort the taxpayer puts into the activity shows they intend to make it profitable. Again, if you're coming up with price lists, trying to figure out how you can make some money, it's not a hobby anymore. It's a business. Number three is whether they depend on income from the activity for their livelihood. So if you are sitting there calculating, I need 10 quilts to be sold this month in order to pay my rent, that's no longer a hobby, it's a business. All right. Number four, whether any losses are due to circumstances beyond the taxpayer's control or if they're normal for the startup phase of their type of business. This one's kind of tricky and iffy. It's talking about losses, and that's when you don't have a profit, you have a negative. If that happens because it's beyond your control, then that's still a hobby activity. But if it's like normal startup phase, like you have to purchase this bulk inventory of needles and thread in order to really start mass producing blankets. That's normal startup losses and can be classified as a business. Number five, whether you change methods of operation to improve profitability. So if you were getting thread from Michaels and now you get them wholesale because you know when you sell this blanket, that's going to give you $5 extra back in your pocket. That is where you're crossing the line from a hobby to a business. Number six, whether the taxpayer and their advisors have the knowledge needed to carry out the activity as a successful business. So if you are known for being a professional quilt maker, and you know that people love your designs and they're going to come to you because they want to purchase from you, that might determine that you have a business. Now, if you're just starting out and you're just learning how to do the quilt making and somebody's just so happens to like what you've done and said, hey, instead of you giving it to me for free, here's $10 for it, then that's still a hobby. All right. Number seven, whether the taxpayer was successful in making a profit in similar activities in the past. So let's say as a hobby, you started off crocheting hats for babies, and all of a sudden people started sending you, hey, can you make this for me? I'll pay this for you, what have you. And you start doing that. And then you decide, you know what? People are also asking me about blankets and they know they're going to pay me for these blankets. So I'm going to learn it so I can, start selling those as well. You're going from a hobby to a business. All right. So, number 8, whether the activity makes a profit in some years and how much profit it makes. So, this, again, I'm going to use the hobby side of this to explain this one. So, again, let's say you picked up crocheting as a hobby and you crocheted a hat for your friend's newborn as a gift. And she says, you know what, this is so beautiful, I'm actually going to pay you for it. And then somebody else sees it and says, hey, can you make one for me? I'll pay you for it as well. And then that's where the transactions stop. You continue making them, you give them to your friends for their baby showers because they're having a baby at the hospital, whatever, just as your welcoming gift. And some pay you, some don't. It's not expected. That's still a hobby. Okay? So you don't have to, consider that income because it's not intended. It just happens. Number 9. Ah. Whether the taxpayer can expect to make a future profit from the appreciation of the assets used in the activity. So, quilting is a little hard to use as an example here, but basically what it's saying is if you expect to have a future profit from what you're doing right now, like let's say you collect stamps, but you're not collecting stamps because you think they're so nice. You're collecting stamps and have a book because you know for a fact 10 years from now those stamps are going to be worth money and you intend to sell it at that point. That's no longer a hobby, that's a business. All right. So those are the 9 things that you want to consider when you're trying to figure out during tax time, like, hey, I did make some money, you know, for a few months there selling tumblers or selling whatever, and you're trying to figure out, well, is that considered income? Do I need to put this on my tax return? Those are the things to consider. The bottom line is that a business operates to make a profit. So if you're making a profit yearly from an activity, chances are the IRS is going to consider this as a business. So to avoid any issues, I recommend treating and taxing the activity as such. All right. So that concludes today's episode of Secure Your Finances. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, comment below. What hobbies are you guys picking up? Do you intend for it to just be a hobby? Do you want to transition it into a business? Do you have questions still about whether your hobby is a business? Let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to find us on all social media platforms. This is the only platform that I haven't been on as yet. So now I'm on YouTube under Secured Financials. And then you can also visit our website at www.securedfinancials.net. Thank you so much for viewing. Have a good day.